So welcome to Using Satellite Imagery to Investigate Deforestation on Global Forest Watch. My name is Alice Gottesman, and I'm an engagement specialist with Global Forest Watch. This webinar will focus on how you can use the satellite imagery resources on Global Forest Watch to investigate deforestation and forest change, with a deep dive into the planet mosaics made available by Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative, or NICFI, imagery program. This webinar is part of a mini-series and is intended to build off of our recent webinar on the forest monitoring alert systems. We will be planning a third webinar for this fall focused on how these alert systems, so GLAD, GLAD-S2, and RAD, will be integrated on all Global Forest Watch tools. Before we get started, I wanted to provide a quick explainer of how you can navigate Zoom. So if you have a question during the presentation, please enter it through the Q&A button. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. In addition, we are recording this webinar and we'll send a copy of the recording alongside the slides to you in the next few business days. And lastly, a survey will populate on your screen after we end the webinar, through which you can share any feedback you might have on our webinar and on the content we shared today. So let's get started. Today's speakers include Jessica Webb, Teresa Schofield, and Michaela Weiss of Global Forest Watch, as well as Charlotte Bishop of Kongsberg Satellite Services and Pooja Pandey of Planet. Jessica leads Global Forest Watch's efforts to ensure that civil society organizations have access to the information they need to sustainably manage forests and promote accountability by decision makers. She will provide an overview of the satellite imagery resources available on Global Forest Watch. Teresa strives to improve Global Forest Watch by evaluating user needs, developing plans for new features, and implementing needed changes. She'll provide a demo of how you can access and use the satellite imagery resources on Global Forest Watch. Michaela leads Global Forest Watch's strategy and partnerships for satellite-based forest monitoring and will be joining us for the Q&A at the end. Charlotte is a senior project manager at Kongsberg Satellite Services with the Earth Observation Division and is the NICFI program project manager. She will provide an in-depth overview of the NICFI program. And lastly, Pooja is a customer success engineer at Planet, primarily working on the NICFI project and focusing on enabling users on Planet data. She will provide a demo of the Planet Explorer application. The goal of today's webinar is to provide you with an overview of the satellite imagery resources available on Global Forest Watch, as well as how they can be used. This includes Sentinel-2 satellite imagery from the European Space Agency, Landsat-8 satellite imagery from NASA, and the high-resolution mosaics from Planet. Some of you might recognize this slide from previous webinars, but I'd like to provide a quick overview of Global Forest Watch. So Global Forest Watch offers an integrated, openly accessible suite of tools designed to enable experts and non-experts alike to access information about forest change and mobilize action. Some high-level examples of how this is done include increasing knowledge and transparency about forest landscapes. Global Forest Watch tools and data offer access to the state of the world's forests to everyone, everywhere for free. Harnessing information to mobilize local action by governments and civil society. We have a variety of partners and some programs that help promote data-driven action. And lastly, advancing private sector action to stop commodity-driven deforestation and manage forests sustainably. One of our tools, Global Forest Watch Pro, allow the private sector to measure risk associated with their supply chains. Satellite imagery aligns with the strategy by allowing actors to validate and investigate likely forest change uncovered by near real-time alerts. Through Norway's International Climate and Forest Initiative, or NICFI, Anyone can now access Planet's high-resolution analysis-ready mosaics of the world's tropics in order to help reduce and reverse the loss of tropical forests, combat climate change, conserve biodiversity, and facilitate sustainable development. We'll hear more on this program from Charlotte later. So during this webinar, we'll provide an overview of the satellite imagery available on Global Forest Watch and demo how you can access and utilize these resources. Afterwards, we'll provide an overview of the NICFI program and demo how you can access the Planet mosaics via Planet Explorer. At the end, we'll share 2 videos that detail how satellite imagery and near real-time alert systems have been paired in the past. One from Hakka, which is a local organization in Sumatra, Indonesia, that focuses on the conservation of the Lusar ecosystem, and one from AMPA, a nonprofit that works in the conservation of the Andes Amazon region in Peru. And lastly, we'll provide ample time for questions. So if you have a question throughout this presentation, please enter it through the Q&A. I'll now pass it over to Jessica to dive into the satellite imagery resources available in Global Forest Watch.
Hi, good morning and good afternoon to everyone. Thanks very much, Alice. So I'm going to present briefly on the different types of satellite imagery that are available on Global Forest Watch. But first, why use satellite imagery? So when a deforestation alert is detected on Global Forest Watch, either through viewing the alert on the globalforestwatch.org platform, receiving an alert email in your inbox, or downloading alerts to the Forest Watcher mobile app, the next steps are to prioritize which alerts to identify the drivers of that event, and then, assuming action is warranted, communicate the results of that investigation to area managers, law enforcement, or the media. Satellite imagery is an important tool to help with steps 2 through 4 in this workflow: prioritizing alerts, investigating the drivers of deforestation that are triggering the alerts, and communicating the findings to others. Take, for example, these alerts in Chiribiquete, a protected area in Colombia. The alert and tree cover loss data algorithms on GFW mark individual pixels as pink when loss is detected. However, without context, the sea of pink pixels can be difficult to interpret. Though these data can be helpful in indicating where recent disturbance has occurred, the data do not tell us what the cause of the tree cover loss was, if it was intentional or caused by humans, or if it was from a natural cause, such as a windfall or a landslide event. Now look at the same area on Global Forest Watch with the high resolution planet satellite imagery activated and the opacity of the alerts reduced. It is much easier to see areas of very recent clearing in brown next to some other recent but slightly older patches in light green, which indicate that clearing is progressive. The regular geometric edges of these clearings also indicate this was human-caused encroachment, likely for agriculture. The satellite imagery not only helps with prioritization and investigation of deforestation drivers, but also in providing a compelling visual to communicate with others in a way that is instantly understandable. There are 4 satellite imagery options on the Global Forest Watch platform. Each imagery product serves related purposes, but has different strengths and weaknesses. When deciding which imagery product to select, you may want to consider the time frame of the imagery. What is the date of the forest clearing you are investigating or communicating about, and which imagery is available for those dates? The resolution of the satellite imagery. Is your priority to have a very detailed image to investigate small-scale clearing, or a very clear image for communications purposes? The frequency of the imagery. Is it important to you to be able to see the most recent image possible, even if that image has partial cloud cover or the resolution isn't as high? The first option is the planet imagery. As Alice mentioned, thanks to an agreement between the government of Norway, Planet, and KSAT, the monthly mosaics are available for free on Global Forest Watch and through the Planet Explorer tool. The resolution of the imagery is quite high at only 5 meters and is updated quite frequently on a monthly basis since last September. Historic imagery is also available in 6-month timeframes dating back to 2015. Planet imagery is only available for the tropics. It is the best option for most users for investigating, prioritizing, and communicating about deforestation alerts. GFW also offers Google imagery as a global base map option. Google imagery tends to be very high resolution, up to 0.5 meters depending on the location, so the images are very clear. However, the trade-off is that Google selects the highest resolution image available for that area, but images may be up to 3 years old and thus not as effective for investigating recent forest loss. The Landsat imagery is 30-meter resolution, so not as high as Planet in Google. It is also not as frequent as Planet since it is updated annually. It does have the oldest time frame of any of the satellite imagery options, dating back to 2013, so it can be helpful for investigating historic deforestation. And finally, the Landsat 8 Sentinel-2 imagery are the most recent images available on Global Forest Watch. Images are updated daily, though each satellite has a revisit time of 16 and 5 days respectively. However, unlike the other imagery options, images are not curated for clarity, and so there may be some cloud cover present. Use the Landsat Sentinel imagery if recentness is the most important feature to you. Thank you, and now I'll hand it back over to Alice.
Great. Thank you so much, Jessica, for that in-depth explanation of all of the satellite imagery available on Global Forest Watch. It was incredibly helpful to delve into the key differences and what someone might want to consider when selecting which imagery to use. I'll now pass it over to Teresa as she'll walk us through how we can access and utilize these satellite imagery resources to investigate forest change on Global Forest Watch's map.
Hi everyone, my name is Teresa Schofield and I work for the World Resources Institute as Global Forest Watch's product specialist. For anyone who isn't familiar, Global Forest Watch aims to empower people everywhere to better protect forests by providing access to visualize and analyze spatial data that show when and where the world's forests are changing. Today, I'm going to provide a short demonstration on how to access the monthly base maps from Planet via the Global Forest Watch website. First, let's go to the map. One of the most impactful ways to use planet imagery on Global Forest Watch is to validate deforestation and fire alerts. I'm going to first turn off these 3 layers that loaded by default, and then toggle on deforestation alerts produced by the Global Land Analysis and Discovery Lab at the University of Maryland, or simply GLAD alerts. These alerts are 30-meter resolution based on Landsat satellite imagery available for the tropics and updated weekly. There are other alerts available as well. GLAD-S2 and RAD alerts offer 10 by 10 meter resolution forest disturbance alerts. GLAD-S2 is updated every 5 days for the Amazon basin, while RAD alerts offer coverage of primary humid tropical forests using Sentinel-1's cloud-penetrating radar sensors, but is updated every 6 to 12 days. If you're interested in RAD or GLAD-S2, look for the Advances in Forest Monitoring Alert Systems webinar on our Help Center, which you can access at globalforestwatch.org/help. We also have VIIRS fire alerts, which are updated daily and provide confidence values per alert of low, nominal, or high to help users gauge the quality of individual hotspot or fire pixels. We'll use GLAD for this demo, but the process would be the same for validating any of the other alert products. Next, I'd like to show you where you can find satellite imagery options. In the legend, right below the layers you've selected, you'll see Planet is the default satellite imagery option, and you can check the box here to activate Planet's high-resolution mosaics, which are currently available for the tropics. Clicking again will lead you back to the white default base map. You can click this drop-down to choose other satellite imagery options, or in this case, to navigate between planets' different monthly mosaics. We have monthly mosaics in September 2020 and for 6-month time frames before that. There's also an option to choose the default natural color, which uses information from visible light, red, green, and blue, to show Earth's surface as it would appear to the human eye, or false color, which also uses the near-infrared reflectance collected by the satellite, which our eyes can't see. Planet can help us investigate alerts and is most useful when zoomed in, but I want to show you other satellite imagery options as well. The Google Satellites imagery is the highest resolution base map, but is 1 to 3 years old, and so is less useful for investigating recent changes. Landsat has lower resolution, but we have annual mosaics going back to 2013 that can help us understand past forest changes. And last of all, recent satellite imagery is also of lower resolution, but is updated every day with new Landsat and Sentinel-2 images. This can be a good option when investigating something that happened in the past couple of weeks. Note that this recent satellite imagery can be found alongside all other satellite imagery and not at the bottom right of the map like it was a couple of months ago. Of course, you can also turn off all the imagery options to view the default base map, which helps to visualize the alerts and other data more clearly and is faster to load. This can be helpful when zoomed out or when zooming around to look for other alerts to investigate. For this demo, I'd like to investigate alerts in a specific protected area that we've been watching in Brazil, which has a high incidence of alerts. So I'll go there now. Note that I clicked on My GFW, where I'm already logged into my account and my areas are saved, and then I selected the area which I would like to go to. I canceled the analysis so that I can show you how to use Planet to analyze these alerts, to verify them, and I'm going to go back to the legend. I'm going to drag the GLAD Alerts time slider to only view alerts detected in 2021. First, I'm going to see what this area looks like now, so June 2021. Alongside using the time slider, you can also select dates here in the calendar. I'll make the alerts semi-transparent so I can view the underlying satellite imagery, which I'll toggle on now. So now we can see the deforested area here that has triggered the alerts. Because of their size and shape and the lack of rows that might indicate crops in the images, it's very likely that these areas were cleared for cattle pasture. I'm going to go back a few months and view Planet imagery before the start of these alerts, so January 2021. And you can see that in January, the area detected by the alerts was forest. If we move the time slider month by month forward, we can see how the deforested area has expanded over time. Some other things I want to touch on very quickly are that you can click the play button to view the precise detection date of alerts and view the progression of alerts over time. And at the bottom right, if you're interested in sharing this view, click the share button to share a link or embed your current view of the map into an article or other materials. I also want to note that we now also offer Planet imagery on the dashboards. I'll show you how to navigate there really quick. I'm going to analyze this area once more, let it load, and then click on the dashboard. You'll notice that just like on the map, Planet is only available for the tropics. If you are logged into My GFW like I am and navigate to a saved area within the tropics, Planet will be toggled on already by default. Thank you for listening and watching. Please reach out to our team at gfw@wri.org if you have any questions, feedback, or run into any problems.
All right. Thank you so much for that demonstration, Teresa. It's helpful to see how someone can access the satellite imagery and then use that to investigate near real-time forest change as indicated by the alerts. So I'll now pass it over to Charlotte to provide an overview of the NICFI program, then Pooja, who will demo how to access planet imagery via Explorer.
Thank you so much, Alice, and great to be here and be able to present on the NICFI data program and show you another way that you can access the NICFI products, and also give you, I guess, a bit more of a background as to that adds to some of the flavor that we've already heard from Teresa and Jessica about these data sets. So let me just skip on to the slides. So I wanted to start with this slide because I think it's great to see the perspective really of what area the NICFI data covers. So as you saw from Teresa and Jessica's slides when they showed the display of this within Global Forest Watch, we're covering the tropic areas. And what that means is we're covering tropical forest countries between 30 degrees north and south. And that's a vast area of 45 million square kilometers. So we're going to talk a bit about the product specifications to go into these base maps, both the ones that you see in Global Forest Watch, but also the analytical analysis ready data sets that you can download and analyze in your own tools that are all part of this program and all accessible to everyone. So I thought this was quite a nice slide to start with, just to give a perspective of really the vast coverage that we're talking about here, and what the Norwegian government has enabled the community with. So, and just as a kind of precursor, as we're talking about imagery, and before Pooja goes into her demo at the end of these introductory slides, we've seen some examples from the GFW presentations previously about the data and about being able to analyze the difference in deforestation. So what this data is providing is increased granularity. So previously we were perhaps able to monitor deforestation at this kind of scale, at the 5 meter scale, maybe over several months, perhaps even 6, maybe even 12 months, just because of availability of data. What this program is providing is data on a monthly cadence. So as Teresa was just explaining to us, suddenly we're able to then compare this to other alert information that is available, such as the GLAD alert, and able to make some decisions, improve our understanding, and therefore hopefully action on how we can reduce the deforestation, improve conservation, and work towards the sustainable development goals, which is really the purpose of what the NICFI program is all about. So as we know, this is a Norwegian government funded initiative through NICFI, and they contracted KSAT, which is the company I work for, to lead this initiative, and we're working with Planet and Airbus. You'll hear a little bit more about why Airbus is not present in this presentation as we go through, but just to give you a brief overview of what the roles are of these partners. So we're working very closely with NICFI. We're in regular engagement with them to understand their users, to help facilitate users. And KSAT's role here is really as the service manager of the program. KSAT itself is a service provider of Earth observation imagery, but we don't own our own satellites. So it's fantastic to be able to work with the satellite operators, Planet and Airbus, to be able to deliver this solution to users, but also make it available to as many users as possible. And that really is a big part of this program, to try and reduce those barriers to access, which could be cost, licensing, access to commercial imagery that we've probably seen, that many people have seen before, that have limited their usage or ability to use such data. So KSAT's role is to work with users, work with our project partners, and also we run a help desk, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later in my presentation. And then of course we have the planet data, and Pooja's going to give us a demonstration on how we can navigate and explore the fantastic planet mosaics that are being made available throughout this program, all the way back from 2015 to present and onwards throughout the length of the contract. And then Airbus, which are providing selected archive scenes all the way back to 2002, but they come under a more limited access license, and I'll talk a bit about that when we get to that point in the presentation. But the focus of the presentation today is going to be on the planet mosaics, which are the widely used mosaics that are really the basis of the NICFI data program. So we've heard a little about the visual mosaics. So the ones that you see in Global Forest Watch are the visual mosaics. They are the 3-band display that we saw as either the natural color or the false color display, where you can manipulate the view to see those features in infrared that we don't see with the naked eye naturally. So these are 5-meter mosaics generated from planet imagery, and as I mentioned at the start, they cover the entire 45 million square kilometer region. So every mosaic that is available, which is about 18 or 19 mosaics now since the contract started in September 2020, cover this entire area. So every time a new one is released, the whole area is covered. And of course, we are minimizing clouds as much as possible during this period, and taking all of the data that's collected by virtue of planet scope satellites, which of course with 150 or so satellites allows us to have a very regular cadence and try and reduce and limit the impact of clouds, which can affect many of the tropical regions. We also have analysis ready surface reflectance mosaics, and these are 4-band data sets, so also include the infrared, which is very useful for more vegetative analysis or classification purposes. And this data is also available for download, and anyone can sign up for this, and we'll explain how you can do that. To access, download, stream them into your own tools and derive products from that data. So there are many different ways that you can interact with the data. You can use tools such as Global Forest Watch, or also take the data into your own tools and do your own analysis. And certainly this program has been designed to make it as flexible as possible to take into account the different capabilities of the users and also the tools that you use. So we heard a little bit about the cadence of the monitoring as well. So we have monthly mosaics from September 2020, which is when the contract began. The contract's due to run for a maximum of 4 years. And so throughout that time, you will have a monthly mosaic throughout that whole term. And then we also have biannual archive mosaics, which run from December 2015 to August 2020. So all of those archive mosaics are already available to everyone, and then obviously month to month those new monthly monitoring mosaics are becoming available, and again they're covering this whole area. So this really is quite an unprecedented amount of data, and we saw some of the other data sets that Global Forest Watch include, but we don't see anything like this at all in any other program of Earth observation. So this really is a step change in terms of availability of data and accessibility of data. So something we're super excited about, and it's great to be able to share that with you. So when we come to license and access levels, and some of you may be more familiar than others, so I do apologize if some of this is repetition, and it may also appear a little bit confusing, but I'll try and keep this as simple as possible, and please don't hesitate to ask a question if you are unsure. So level 0 is the public access. Most people who are using the NICFI data sets at level 0 will likely not know that they are doing so, because level 0 is how Global Forest Watch are sharing the data. So these are view only, they're non-downloadable mosaics, but you're able to use them in conjunction with, say, the GLAD alerts and RAD alerts and the other information that tools like Global Forest Watch provide. and that requires no sign up to the NICFI data program, and you can use those tools and visualize that information. The level 1 is primary usage level for users who want to download data, stream data, or derive products from the data. We have over 7,000 users signed up to the level 1 usage level, and that's done through the main project platform, which I'll come to on the next slide. And this is where you will have access to the visual mosaic through Planet Explorer. So you'll still be able to discover the data in Global Forest Watch, in Planet Explorer, in the other tools that are displaying the visual mosaic, but you'll also be able to download the data and stream it, as I say, into the different tools that you're using. We also, and I've graded out on this slide because it's not going to be the focus of our discussion today, but we also have a level 2. But these are only for select partners. It's a very small group of users that will have this access, because this access will also provide underlying planet imagery, so the scenes that go into making the mosaics, as well as the selected archive Airbus scenes as well, which go back to 2002. So that's a process. I'm sure we may get some questions on that, so I'll perhaps come to that when we get to the Q&A section. But the focus of what we're talking about today is really this primary baseline of the level 0, level 1 usage, which are these wide area mosaics on this regular cadence. So where do I start? So if you haven't already had the chance to have a look at our project page for the NICFI data program, then I urge you to take a look at the link on your screen, planet.com/NICFI. This provides you a bit of baseline information about the program, about the partners, and it's a very easy sign up mechanism with just an email address and a couple of checkboxes, and then you're authorized to have access. And I should reiterate that this access is not limited to research. It is also available for commercial users as well, as long as the premise behind your usage is in line with the purpose and it is not in the pursuit of profit. So this is open for everyone to use the data, to use it for research and development. If, for example, you are a commercial user and you're not quite sure how you can use the data, or you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask, and we'd be happy to guide you through how that data can be used without any license infringement. And finally, my last slide before we go into a demo is that on that same page, you will also find a range of available resources, which include our frequently asked questions in 5 different languages. We also have user guides in 5 different languages, and the user guide provide additional links to other parts of Planet's website, where you will find additional information, for example, on tile streaming or Python integration, some of which Pooja is going to talk about in just a second. And of course, primarily, we also have a support mechanism as well. We have a 24/7 help desk where you can contact the email address that Michaela is adding to your chat right now with any questions you have on the program, on level 1 access, any problems you're having with signing up. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. That's exactly what the team is there to help resolve those issues for you and help ensure that you're able to access the data. So any problems, please do get in touch with us. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of a flavor of how the program works. So I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague Pooja from Planet, who's going to demonstrate how we can access and what we can do with this data within Planet's Explorer platform. Pooja.
Thank you, Charlotte. I'm just going to share my screen here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, looks
Yep.
great.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Charlotte, for the introduction to the NICFI program, and thank you, Alice, for moderating. Yes, so I've just opened up here the planet.com/NICV page for everyone. So when you do sign up here, you will be guided through some emails that you'll be able to look through and sign up. And once you do sign up, you will reach the page of our graphical user interface known as Explorer. And over here is where you'll be able to kind of log in using the credentials that you've provided. And I'm just going to log in here and take you through a quick tour of our user interface and how you can interact with the base maps. So once you log into Explorer, you should see this page right here, which is the landing page of the base maps and the mosaics. As everyone has mentioned before, this is the tropics, so between 30° north and 30° south. Going over here, just starting from this corner of the screen, we have included a bunch of functionalities in Explorer that you can use for your benefit. The first is the ability for you to draw or upload your own area of interest. So the way this can work is either you can use your mouse and scroll into a specific location within the base map. And once you are there, you can, I'm just going to scroll in here. And once you are in here, you can basically use any of these icons and draw a polygon of your area of interest. And once you draw a polygon, you should see a right side button that opens up, and over here you'll see this error, but please don't worry about it and just go on and click on monthly or quarterly. On monthly here. And here's where you'll see the different base maps that are available to you. You can click on the drop down menu here and then select which one you would like to take a look at. I'm going to select the normalized analytic monthly base map here, so you can see all the ones that are available. At the bottom of the screen, we've also included a timeline feature where you can scroll through and also change between the different mosaics from the different time ranges that are available. Once you've drawn a little polygon or a very complicated geometry, you're always free to download it as a GeoJSON. You can use by using this button. This button here allows you to also measure distances. If you're interested in measuring using this tool, it's available for you. We have some toggle buttons for the satellite view with street labels. If you would like a cleaner image of where you're looking, feel free to toggle it on and off. You can see here that it's turning on and off here. These are the zoom buttons. You can also use your cursor to zoom through. Once you've selected the mosaic, feel free to also use the timeline feature. Here is where you can also select this drop-down menu is similar to this one here that we have. I would also like to show you that you have some settings here that you can choose. So depending on the units that you are used to on the measurement system, feel free to use these and play around with them. Going back to the searching here, the search bar here allows you to also search using latitude and longitude as well as location names. So if you are interested in looking at a particular area, you can always type it in here, or you can use the button here that I mentioned, which will allow you to upload a geometry as well. And right here on the top right corner, we have included some help buttons. So when you click on the help center here, it takes you directly to our our support center here, where there is a lot of articles and FAQs. Similarly, this is the Basemap Viewer, which I will go through in a few minutes. But here in the developer center here, you can click on this and it'll take you to our location for all of our documentation of our APIs and our Explorer as well, our Explorer user guide as well. Exactly. So the next thing is that we also have included some other tools here, which will be of interest. So the first is comparing imagery. This tool allows you to compare two areas that you are two areas that you're interested in between two different timelines. So just feel free to drag and drop it. So in this example, I will compare November with April, and you can use the slider to just kind of toggle it back and forth, and you can see the difference. At the bottom of the screen here, there's also an opacity, which allows you to adjust the opacity level of the screen here. I'm going to stop comparing. The next one here is an enhanced imagery option. So this one allows you to kind of enhance the imagery. And what I mean by this is that it makes the imagery look a little bit more sharper. If you're interested in doing a visual analysis, you can see here. And also if you're looking at snowy or desert areas, you can always select between these two options. If you are more technical, you can always use the custom option and adjust the contrast and brightness according to what you would like to see. And you can also play around with the histogram and adjust it accordingly. We also have a spectral analysis tool. Now, this one here will only work on the analytic base maps as they require the 4 bands to be present, but you can choose between the different combinations. So we have the true color visualization, the false color visualization you can see here, and then we also have NDVI, NDWI, VARI, MSAVI, etc. So feel free to play around with these options here. I'm now going to go into Basemap Viewer, which is our second kind of user interface specifically for mosaics. It is similar to Explorer in the sense that it allows you to view mosaics. However, Explorer doesn't let you download the quads and Basemap Viewer does. So if you are interested in downloading the little snippets of what goes into making the mosaic, which we call quads, you would need to go to the Basemap Viewer, like here. And similar to before, feel free to zoom into a location or upload a geometry. Here. And here you can select which mosaic you're interested in. So once you've selected, you can click on this and there'll be a draw area option or an upload file. If you would like to draw the area, same as Explorer, just draw the area that you're interested. And once you draw, you'll see the quads that cover your area location. And in order to download, you can just click on this button here and it'll download the quad for you. The second good thing is that you can also view the pixel per pixel values of where each quad has been taken. So we've included the scenes that were used to make the quad. So you can find out exactly what dates were used for that particular quad. That's it for that. And then towards the bottom of the screen here, you also have the compare base maps option, similar to what we saw in Explorer. And you also have the map labels option. So if you would like a cleaner view, feel free to just toggle around and play with this. That's kind of it for my kind of overview of the Basemap Viewer and Explorer. I also want to tell you that we have an API that is associated with our mosaics that will allow you to download, bulk download quads or bulk download in your area of interest. The documentation for the API is all available in our developer center. At the bottom of the screen, you can go to Basemaps and it's all available here. Feel free to take a look. And we've also included a bunch of resources in our developer center, especially in the NICFI program page, as well as the developer center and the support page, where you can go and take a look at all of the scripts that we've included and instructions on how you can download. So that's it for me. Thank you all for listening, and please let me know if you have any questions in the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pooja, and thank you, Charlotte, for the overview of NICFI. I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen. One moment, please. All right. So thank you again. If anyone is interested in accessing the Planet mosaics via Planet Explorer, you can learn more about the NICFI program and register for a free account to download mosaics on planet.com/NICFI. I believe Michaela popped that link along with some others into the chat for your easy access. So now we will head over to some use cases of how the satellite imagery and alert data have been paired in the past. First, zooming over to Indonesia to hear about how Hakka applies GFW and Planet to their conservation work.
Hi everyone, I'm Fadil from Hakka in Indonesia. We are a local organization based in Sumatra that focuses on the conservation at the leisure ecosystem, the last place on earth where orangutans, elephants, tigers, and rhinos coexist in the wild. The leisure ecosystem spans 2.6 million hectares across 2 provinces in Indonesia. It has been the source of life where at least 4 million people depend on it. However, in the last decades, the leisure ecosystem has faced many threats, including deforestation. It has been suffered by illegal logging activities and land clearing for several reasons. And all those illegal activities are very hard to detect since the wide range area of the leisure ecosystem and the variety of its topography. And in our effort to combat the deforestation that is happening in leisure ecosystem, GLAD data and Planet satellite imagery are indeed a very significant part. Thankfully, Global Forest Watch and NICFI, by providing us of this data that is very accessible, powerful, and also free for everyone. GLAD data is crucial since it allows us to locate the deforestation area and helping us in calculate the number of deforestation. We also use GLAD data in our patrol guidance map, so our field team can directly go to the field, collect the data, and investigate the case. In some other cases, there is still GLAD data that need to be verified. In that circumstance, we use Planet satellite imagery to confirm whether the deforestation is real or not. Planet satellite imagery is also important in the law enforcement activity since we can keep monitoring the deforestation every month, and we can also find the roads towards the location of the deforestation. Furthermore, Planet satellite imagery is also very useful in helping us design our future work, such as determining restoration location, identifying area to protect, and also monitoring the forest regrowth in some certain areas. After we interpret the deforestation and then collect the data from the field, we use to visualize.
It appears the audio cut out. Let me try refreshing that part of the video.
After we interpret the deforestation and then collect the data from the field, we use to visualize all the data in an interactive map, such as Google My Maps and Google Earth provided by Google, so our partner and our team can look at the data more comfortably. We also do believe that this data can also be used by any other parties in the conservation effort of the leisure ecosystem. That's collaborating with World Resources Institute to introduce and teach Global Forest Watch along with GLAD data and Planet satellite imagery within it to any other parties that we believe, that we think can help us in the conservation effort of the leisure ecosystem, starting from the local authorities such as the police, and then the forest management unit, national parks, and even to journalists. This is the glimpse of our experience. We hope that from this short sharing session, we can learn from each other so we can protect our nature better than before. Our journey to preserve and protect the nature will still continue. maybe for a dozen next years, as long as we still care of the environment and the forest, especially the leisure ecosystem.
I'd like to thank Fadil and the Hakka team for sharing information about their work and how they apply Global Forest Watch and Planet to conserving the looser ecosystem. It's so helpful to understand how the Hakka team and the communities they work with are putting these resources into practice. So now let's zoom over to Peru to hear from Ampa.
My thanks to the organizers of this webinar and for the opportunity to share our work and experience in the application of technological tools for the participatory monitoring of deforestation and attention to environmental crimes in San Martin region, Andean Amazon in Peru. Now I'm going to share my screen to start my presentation. Okay, let me introduce myself. I am Jorge Fachin. I am the coordinator of the monitoring and GIS unit of the Amazonians for the Amazon, AMPA. AMPA is a non-profit organization who works in the conservation of natural and cultural heritage and the improvement of life quality and sustainable development of the communities of the Andes Amazon in Peru. We work with people-to-people approach, and our mission is conserve life to share with you. Since 2017, thanks to a small grant funds of Global Forest Watch from our partner, the World Resources Institute, we have promoted a forest monitoring initiative with the volunteer and communal conservation network of San Martin region. Currently, it is represented by 40 conservation concessions and 6 private conservation areas, and protect more than 70,000 hectares. We are implementing a control and surveillance system using data and tools of the Global Forest Watch platform. And we also encourage to the competent institutions of the regional and national level in charge of the forest management for take joint actions for verify deforestation and for the attention to the environmental crimes. According to the data report by the Global Forest Watch platform, the San Martin region is the third with the most forest cover loss in 2020 in Peru. Next, I am going to briefly explain 2 practical and frequent cases of the use of planet satellite images available on the Global Forest Watch platform. The first case is verify origin forest cover lost. It's important to know the origin of the loss of forest before starting actions in the field. This allows planning patrols. In that sense, the mosaic of planet images with a high spatial resolution provides our local and monitors with complementary information for the verification of GLAD deforestation. For example, this is a conservation concession. The GLAD deforestation alert is reported by the Global Forest Watch platform. Then, through the use of the planet images, it is possible to visualize the change in forest cover This procedure allows to validate and determine the causes of the loss of the forest. Also, this motivated the members of this association to carry out a field patrol and collect information. It was reported to the competent authorities. Case 2, now when deforestation occurs. Through planet satellite images, we can quickly know the date of forest cover loss occurred. This example, the notification of glad deforestation alerts in this conservation concession, using the planet option of the Global Forest Watch platform, we can access the monthly database. Okay. This side of your screen. It can assessment when the change forest cover loss occur. That's right. Carrying out this procedure is key for the presentation of environmental complaints. Often the competent authorities responsible for the investigation request this information. As a reflection, I can mention that the local users and monitors of the San Martin network who use the planet satellite images found a practical and dynamic way for the monitoring and surveillance the forest. Thank you for your attention.
Many thanks to Jorge and the AMPA team for sharing how they also utilize Global Forest Watch and Planet to combat environmental crimes in the San Martin region of Peru. It's very helpful to delve into how AMPA is applying these resources in an entirely different context from Hakka. And we hope that these use cases inspire you to consider how you might be able to utilize Global Forest Watch and Planet to protect forests in your context. We'll now wrap up the presentation and head into the Q&A. So if you have a question, please enter it through the Q&A button and we will do our best to answer it. Before we get to the Q&A, I wanted to share a little bit about the Global Forest Watch Help Center. The Help Center was designed to offer training materials that help guide users through Global Forest Watch tools and the data they feature. To find additional information on how to use Global Forest Watch to monitor and investigate forest change, please visit the Help Center. You will find step-by-step tutorials, such as the one shown on the screen, webinar recordings, FAQs, and other resources that can help guide you through Global Forest Watch tools and the data they feature. And the materials are available in English, Chinese, French, Bahasa Indonesian, Portuguese, and Spanish. As a reminder, we will send a copy of this presentation with the links attached alongside a recording of this webinar in the next few business days. So you'll have all of these links accessible to you. So now let's open it up for Q&A. We will do our best to get through as many questions as we can, but if we are not able to get to your question, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Global Forest Watch team at gfw@wi.org or to the NICFI help desk, whose email I believe Michaela popped into the chat earlier. We have about 30 minutes for questions, so we should be able to get through a significant chunk of them. So the first question we'll open it up with is from Simon. It is about the level 2 access for the NICFI program and some elaboration about how to get to that level, what that level means. And I will point that question over to Charlotte.
Thanks, Alice. Yeah, thank you, Simon, for your question. We know level 2 is of interest to lots of users. So essentially level 2 is controlled by the Norwegian government. So they are actually assigning the level 2 access. And as I mentioned in my slides, the number of users at that level is very small. It's a very different level of access to the level 1 and level 0, which is really the bulk of the program. What I would suggest that you do, and perhaps anyone else who is interested on the call, is to send the help desk an email, and perhaps explaining a little bit more about the organization that you work for, because the ministry is still engaging on the level 2 access at the moment. They did recently have an open call for level 2, which closed in June, so they are assessing those. It is not yet clear whether they will have an additional open call, so we are not yet sure how many of those licenses may remain, but if you would like to send us an email with some more information, maybe we can start that dialogue and see how we can at least refer that information to the ministry for their consideration. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. And Simon, that email for the NICFI help desk is in the chat, so you can access it there. So the next question is from Amsa, and it is, how can someone download a satellite image from Global Forest Watch? And I will point that question to Michaela.
Great, yeah, that's a good question. At this point, we actually don't have a way to download the satellite images directly from Global Forest Watch, but there are a number of resources where you can download most of the different data sets and satellite images that we have on Global Forest Watch. So Pooja already walked through how to do that for Planet. The Landsat and Sentinel-2 images are also freely available. So NASA, or rather the USGS, has a website for downloading Landsat images, and actually there's a number of different websites that allow you to do that, as well as the European Space Agency for Sentinel-2. So definitely encourage you to look up those resources. There's also a number of tools available to process satellite imagery for free, like Google Earth Engine or CPOL from FAO. So there are a lot of resources out there, but at this point, downloading is not possible from Global Forest Watch directly.
Thanks so much, Michaela. That's a really helpful answer. The next questions are more specific to Planet and Planet Explorer. The first is from Kevin and is whether someone can download monthly mosaics of Planet for an entire country, as well as whether someone can upload a shapefile or geo package to delineate a target area. And I will point both of those questions to Pooja.
Yep, thank you. So for Kevin, yeah, you can upload a shapefile onto Explorer. There is an option that says, like, if you can upload a file, and that's where you can just basically drag and drop it as well. We don't accept GeoPackage at the moment, unfortunately. So it's either shapefile, GeoJSON, WKT, KML, and I think that's all we can. As all UB support at the moment. And as for downloading monthly mosaics, so if you sign up for the level 1 access, you can always log into Basemap Viewer and like I showed you, draw a bounding box around the area that you want to download, as long as the country is, in the tropics between 30 degrees north and 30 degrees south, that option is available for you.
Thanks so much, Pooja. That's helpful clarification. So the next question is from Norman, and is about whether these satellite imagery resources can be accessed with no cost associated, particularly for organizations that might not have many resources or budget to work with to purchase high resolution images. And I will point this question to Charlotte, but perhaps Jessica might want to touch on it as well.
Yeah, great. I will. I'll go first and then pass over to our GFW colleagues. But yes, absolutely, Norman. The purpose behind this program is to make that data available free. So if you sign up for level 1 access through the planet.com/NICFI, that access is free. So you will have freely available access under the premise of the purpose. So using the data for deforestation and conservation activities at that 5-meter resolution. So hopefully that will help with some of these barriers that you found previously with access to data and cost of data.
Yes, thanks, Norman. And I'll just add from the Global Forest Watch side, Global Forest Watch is a free open platform. You can sign in if you wish to save areas. That's also free, but you can also access all of the imagery without even having to log on. So as we mentioned, the Planet monthly mosaics are available through the Global Forest Watch platform, as well as the Landsat, the Sentinel-2, and the Google Basemap. So that's all available at no cost.
Thank you both so much for that clarification. So that kind of leads quite well to the next question, which is about how the different kind of satellite imagery resources such as CEPAL, Planet, Landsat, and Sentinel kind of work together and whether they communicate. And I will point that question over to Charlotte.
Yes, thank you for that. And thank you, Anna, for the question. Yes, so CEPAL is also providing the same layers that you see in Global Forest Watch. So you can also access the NICFI data program mosaics through CEPAL. So if you're already a user of that, it's exactly the same data. Also in CEPAL, you can, by using your NICFI API key, so your Planet account API key for your NICFI login, to also use the data as a level 1. So you can also download the data from CEPAL as well. So it's exactly the same data you will find in Explorer, as Pooja shows. So yes, there is a link. We're working very closely with the UN FAO team who run CEPAL and other platforms. So if you see similar looking data of the NICFI data program, it's likely it's a partner organization who's also working to help us outreach to as many users as possible.
Thanks so much, Charlotte. So the next question is from Vern, and it is for mangrove monitoring. How far offshore do you have acquisitions? And I'll point that over to Pooja.
Yeah, so we publish until 20 kilometers offshore from coastal areas. So if you're able to do, I think you're able to do mangrove monitoring with up to 20 kilometers. That's what we have right now.
Great, thank you, Pooja. Moving on, the next question is from Xinying, and is, can we share if there have been occasions where financiers have successfully used this database as part of their due diligence, monitoring to meet their own forest landing policies? And what other information do they usually need on top of these satellite mosaics? So I will pass this question to both Charlotte and Michaela.
Yes, it's a great question, and certainly the private sector is an area where it's important that we can still enable those users. Specifically for financing, there are some caveats within our license terms that perhaps I think it might be easier to share with you, Xinying, to see if that still meets your needs because of this element around it not being in the pursuit of profit. So there is some elements around how this data can be used by finance and investment that probably need to be looked at in your case to see how that could be relevant. But certainly within the private sector, for example, within supply chain monitoring, we know private sector companies are using it in support of zero deforestation goals, for example, and their reporting that goes along with that. And that is well within the bounds of the purpose. So perhaps if you could send us an email to the help desk and we can have a look specifically at your use case and see how we can help you. I'll pass over to Michaela.
Great. I just also wanted to mention that as Global Forest Watch, we do have a tool that's specifically for monitoring risk within a supply chain or a portfolio of areas. And so that also does include the Planet mosaics, but also includes other information that might be important for that kind of use case, such as the location of primary forests or peatlands, and then of course the deforestation and fire alerts to have a better understanding of where there might be deforestation or forest change that might not I guess, fit with a company's or a financier's zero deforestation commitments.
Thank you both so much. So the next couple of questions are around downloading data from Planet or NICFI. One is about whether it can be downloaded for land use or land cover mapping, and also generally if you're able to download images. And I'll point that question to both Charlotte and Pooja.
Yes, great. The question is, I don't know whether maybe I can answer both and maybe Pooja can jump in, but yes, absolutely, you can download the data. That's well within the bounds of the level 1 access. And I think that the first question was around using the data for land use and land cover mapping. That is a perfect use case for how this data could be used in support of looking at changes in land cover and how that relates to tropical forests and deforestation, for example. So that would be great. And we also really, and I'm just going to do a small plug for this here, we also really love to hear how you're using the data. If that's something you're able to share, that's really useful for the Norwegian ministry as well, to see how successful and useful this program is for the different users and different use cases. So we'd love to hear more about your applications too. Pooja, do you have anything to add on the download side?
No, I think you've covered it. Yeah, you can download using our interface or API. Both options are available to you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for clarifying that. So the next question is from Raiko, and it is about the 2 case studies we shared, and whether there were any arrests resulting from either in Peru or in Indonesia from those use cases. And I'll point that question over to Jessica.
Yeah, thanks, Rico, for the question. I saw your comments also about the congratulations on the all women panel, and I was thinking about that as well. It's very, very nice to see, right, especially in the kind of technology and forest monitoring space. So thank you for that. So I would also invite, I don't know if we have colleagues from Hakka or AMPA on the call, but if you would like to add some additional information about your experiences in the chat, please do so. But I will say in brief, both Hakka and AMPA have had quite successful interventions with law enforcement. Both of them, of course, are civil society organizations, but they work very closely with law enforcement authorities in the areas which they work. I will say, just from speaking with them, a couple of lessons learned is, one, it takes a long time to build those relationships of trust with law enforcement. And it's been an evolution over like a number of years in order to be able to work in the collaborative and effective way that they have in order to be able to do some of the legwork and the boots on the ground of documenting information and evidence that they found about illegal deforestation and compile that in a way so that authorities mandated to respond to deforestation in that area can use that information. But then also sometimes there's some complementary activities in addition to working with law enforcement directly that both have implemented in having a strong communications presence. So either working with the media to share stories or through social media in order to also raise awareness about the deforestation that's occurring and the work that they're doing, but also to put pressure on both, in some cases, authorities to respond or raise awareness about the fact of the illegal activity that's happening. Yeah, again, if anyone from Hakka or AMPA is on the call and would like to contribute additional information on the chat, or if you would like additional information, we're also happy to connect you with them. So thank you for the question.
Thanks, Jessica. I'm not sure the chat is active for people who are attending, but if you are interested in learning more about Hakka or AMPA, please feel free to reach out to us at gfw@wi.org, and we would be happy to put you in touch with their teams so that you can learn more directly from them. So the next question is from Hosea, and I truly apologize if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name. But the question is, apart from monitoring areas of deforestation or with alerts, do we also have active sites where we're monitoring closely areas of restoration? And I will point that question over to Michaela.
Yeah, it's a good question. So on Global Forest Watch, a lot of our focus so far has been on deforestation monitoring, in part because it's a little bit easier to monitor that because it's usually a sudden change compared to restoration, which is more gradual. And so needing to set certain thresholds to say whether something is regrown or not, it can be more difficult. We do have several programs though to do this better. And certainly see the different satellite imagery sources that we talked about being a big part of that. So we have some colleagues, for example, that are using Sentinel-2 images in particular to delineate where there are trees growing in non-forest landscapes, so in croplands and pastures. And also thinking about how we can track the way that seedlings are growing over time, how restoration projects are progressing at different time points, which might involve using Planet, given the bit higher resolution, but also things like drones and georeferenced photos actually taken in the field to prove that restoration is happening. So certainly an area that we're working on very closely and hope to have more to share in the future.
Thanks so much, Michaela. It's exciting to hear that we're working closely on this, and hopefully we'll have more to share soon. The next question is from Anna, and is how well prepared is this program for weak connections, such as working in remote areas with poor internet connection? And I will pass that question over to Teresa.
Hey there, Anna. This is a great question. Thank you for asking it. We are constantly working on improving the speed of the Global Forest Watch site's ability to load fast. We're constantly working on that, and we've made some strides in the past year, but you might still see issues because the site can hold quite a lot of data at the same time and a lot of information. So what we recommend, if you are in a weaker, if you do have a poor internet connection, go ahead and use one of our most recommended browsers, which would either be Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. And if you are still seeing problems, try opening a browser, an incognito or private browser. And that typically can help. Also, if you're loading multiple data layers at one time within the site, that can slow things down. So maybe just look at a couple at a time if possible. I do want to note we have a mobile app called Forest Watcher that is built specifically to function well within areas with poor internet connections. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us at the email address you see on the screen, gfw@wri.org, and we can get you more information. I hope that helps.
Thanks so much, Teresa, for expanding on how Global Forest Watch can be used in low bandwidth settings. So the next question is it possible for me to upload a licensed spot image product for 2012 in order to compare my 2012 data with the most recent data on the Planet platform? And I will point that question over to Charlotte.
Yes, so and I'll let Pooja jump in with anything more specific I'm missing on the Planet Explorer platform, but you can absolutely compare your existing imagery with the data available in this program at level 1, because you can download the data. You can use that data that you download from the NICFI data program in QGIS, ArcGIS. We have plugins also for those tools. If you use those tools, then there is a way to easily get that data, the NICFI program data, into the GIS tools you're already using, and then you can compare those directly. Pooja, I don't know if there's any way that you can also add a raster into Explorer. I don't believe that's possible at this time.
No, it's not possible at this time, no.
Yes, so that would be your easiest way, Isabel. If you already have that data, then you can download the relevant image quads of the mosaics you're interested in and use those in the software that you have on your computer. That's no problem to do.
Great, thank you both so much. We have about 10 more minutes for questions. So again, if we are not able to answer your question today, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Global Forest Watch team at the email on the screen, which is gfw@wri.org, or to the NICFI help desk email, which Michaela sent in the chat earlier. So the next two questions I will lump together. One is from Ivana and one is from Ankit. The first is, when signed into the level 1 on Planet Explorer, can you download deforestation information of an area of interest and analyze it in a different software? And this other question is, how old and for which years are the satellite images available in Planet Explorer? And I'll pass both of those over to Pooja.
Yep, thank you for the question. So the first one is, when you are signed into level 1, you can download the quads going into the mosaics, and then you can apply them. You can open them in a different software, so you can open them in QGIS and ArcGIS and apply your analysis there. You cannot, however, download already analyze, like put already NDVI or NDWI onto the quad and then download that. You would just get that's not something that we offer currently. How old and which year? So currently the mosaics go back to December 2015. So the biannual archive mosaics start from December 2015, and they're available at 6-month intervals until October 2020.
Great, thank you for clarifying that, Pooja. So the next question is from Andre, and he is curious whether Global Forest Watch is being utilized by the governments of Peru and Indonesia, and how effective the platform has been in their use cases. And I will pass that question over to Jessica.
Yes, thanks, Andre, for the question. Yes, the data available through Global Forest Watch is used by many different governments, like at both the subnational and national level around the world. In Peru, for example, Peru has, the Ministry of Environment has developed its own national monitoring system. So they also have alerts available. But we know that, for example, some of the federal agencies like OCINFOR, the Forest Inspection Agency, as well as the CERNAM, the National Park Service, use both the alert data available through Global Forest Watch along with the national monitoring system, because the different systems have their strengths and weaknesses and they complement one another. So we've used those for investigation. In Indonesia, WRI has a fairly sizable office there, and so some of our staff have been working with local governments, particularly local forest management units, to be able to help them to prioritize alerts and decide which ones to follow up on and investigate in. And so that's also been successful. And then we have other examples, for example, in Central Africa, in the Congo Basin and Cameroon. WRI has partnered with for many years, the last 20 years, with governments there to co-create online interactive maps called forest atlases, where government agencies, forest authorities are able to pull in the data that's available on Global Forest Watch, and now the Planet monthly mosaics and other satellite images as well, alongside national government data. So information on concession areas, for example, or other land ownership information. So yes, we work quite closely with governments in different ways in order to meet the needs that they have.
Thank you, Jessica, for elaborating on how we work with governments and how they use our platforms in conjunction with other platforms. The next question is from Sylvia, and it is, when I upload a shapefile, is it only used for visualization, or can I download information for that specific area as well? And I'm going to pass that question over to Pooja to answer from the Planet Explorer side, and to Teresa to answer from the Global Forest Watch side.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia, for your question. When you upload a shapefile, you will be able to download quads specific to that area using a Basemap Viewer that I was just showing in the demo. So you can drag and drop the shapefile into Basemap Viewer, and then it would show you the quads that overlap with your area, and you should be able to download them.
Hey, Sylvia, great question. From the Global Forest Watch site side, yes, you can upload a shapefile as well. When you're on the map, if you click on the Analysis button at the top left, there's a space there where you can upload a shapefile, and as well as information about what that shapefile will need to look like and the size limitations. That's great for visualization, but you can also perform an analysis on specific data for a specific area and then download that information and analyze it on your own. Hope that helps.
Thank you both so much. And if anyone is interested in learning more about how to analyze data or download data from Global Forest Watch specifically, you can find some tutorials on our Help Center that run through how to do that. So the next question is, can Global Forest Watch be used as early warning for forest fires? And I'll pass that over to Michaela.
Yeah, so we talked mostly about deforestation alerts in the presentation today, but Global Forest Watch does also do fire monitoring, and we have fire alert points from NASA that absolutely can be used as an early warning for forest fires. And I think a lot of the things that Teresa showed on the platform about GLAD alerts, you know, in terms of comparing them to other imagery or changing the time period or doing an analysis, those same things also apply to fires. So definitely a lot there. If that's an area of interest for you, we have a lot of tools that can help you out.
Thank you, Michaela. The next question is from Agam. It's great to see you here, Agam. Thank you for joining us. The question is, are there any plans to improve the Forest Watcher application, adding more features or more data? And for reference, the Forest Watcher application is our mobile application that allows anyone to take some of the data we offer and feature offline and into the field to investigate what might be occurring. I'll pass that question over to Jessica.
Hi, Agung. Thanks for joining us. Yes, briefly, yes, as Alice mentioned, the Forest Watcher application allows people who are working in the field and out investigating the deforestation alerts to download those alerts and take them off into the field. We did release a new version of Forest Watcher last September with some new features, including route tracking, the ability to add custom base maps and custom data. We will be adding the 2 new alert products that Teresa mentioned in the demo, the GLAD S2 and the RAD alerts, probably in August or September. So keep an eye out for that. And then we're also working on revamping Forest Watcher Web, which is the desktop application that accompanies the mobile app. So we're doing a whole revamp of that and adding a bunch of exciting new features. Those will be available in early 2021. So I'll also keep you posted. And actually, you would be a great person to reach out to get your feedback on some of those new features. So we'll be sure to be in touch about that. So thank you for the question.
Thanks so much, Jessica. So I'm afraid we only have time for one more question. The question is from Enoch. And it is, does Global Forest Watch partner with universities in carrying out forest cover change? I'll pass that question over to Michaela.
Yeah, it's a good question. So most of the products that you've seen with the alerts for forest change monitoring that we have on Global Forest Watch are actually produced by universities. They're not produced by our team directly. So the GLAD alerts from the University of Maryland, some of the other alert systems from Wageningen University in the Netherlands. So definitely we see academia as a key partner in this. And we view our role as Global Forest Watch is really in making that information available in a more public and accessible way that is free of charge and doesn't require any expertise with GIS software.
Thanks so much, Michaela. So I'm afraid our time is up today. Thank you everyone so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time and hope that the information we provided was useful to you. And as a reminder, once we end this webinar, a survey will populate on your screen. We'd greatly appreciate any feedback or ideas you might have on how we can improve future webinars. Otherwise, we will be sharing the webinar recording with you all alongside the slides and a few of the other links that were shared today through email in the next few business days. And thank you again to Jessica, Teresa, Michaela, Charlotte, and Pooja for presenting today. We look forward to connecting again in the future.